next talk. Let me invite Dr. Minu sir. He's a senior eminent surgeon from Chaitanya Institute, Trivandrum, and he'll be talking to us about small pupils in complicated cataracts. How do you go about managing those?
As I was telling, one full session on small pupils. And as we were used to pass off small pupils as 15 minutes talk. In the last AUs, we had one session on if the nucleus doesn't crack, what do you do? One full 1.5 hours. So we are coming into very focused topics. No financial interest in this. I don't want to talk about the theory of uveitis and how you get small pupil and all those, how do you treat, because I have a uveitis expert in my hospital. Whoever comes with uvea will go there. They will give clearance, they will give a cover and then ask me to do. So I will show only how it can be done. The rest of the management is there in textbooks, it can be easily read. Anyway, some cases come like this, no pupil. So we will have to search for the pupil in some of these cases. So membranes cover up the pupil, sometimes it will be very pinpoint kind of pupil. But somewhere after you put viscoelastic, you will see that sometimes visco goes underneath through some opening, or somewhere you will see a clearing. So identify that area by touching on the edges of this one and then cut it with the when he was telling that micro scissor, forceps is required, micro scissor is also required. So a pair of micro scissor and micro forceps are the requirements now for most of these complicated surgeries. So once you remove that like this, then we can manage the pupil which is now formed. Okay, one choice is to do the stretch pupilloplasty. Only thing is, if you go through two paracentesis, well and good. If you go through main incision, it may leak. So put sodium hyaluronate and engage the second Coughlin hook later, so that you don't have to manipulate too much in trying to find out where is the edge and touch. Some Indian companies make Coughlin hook with no gap at all. It is just like a thin paper can go inside. So try to identify under microscope what Coughlin hook or Y hook you are buying, and it should at least engage an iris. So such instruments please buy. Some instruments come without any gap also. So uveitic pupil, good thing is that if you stretch, it will expand. But remember, if you are going to do phaco, this margin is always floppy. After you stretch and break it, it's always floppy. And as he said, it was very thin and fluttery, and it always comes into your phaco probe, even if you don't want it to come into your phaco probe. So beware of these kind of stretched fibrotic pupils which you have stretched and made more loose and lax. So this is another typical black cataract which I was showing. First itself decided to do SACs. So sometimes you become, there is no point in trying to do phaco. So here again it stretches so nicely, and SACs is good. Before this one also you can do an SACs. You can do a canopter underneath the pupil and also. Now I have stopped all those. So as she was telling, visualization is very important. So you visualize and do everything. No, nothing under iris and all. All hooks, everything are available. Please expand.
Can you see the video stop?
People will get surprised and suddenly video will come. That's their technology like it from Trivandrum. And so it is actually very small, and they need not be hydrated. They are not multiple paracentesis. They do not induce astigmatism. Please let go of all these myths that if you put incisions for hooks, it will induce astigmatism, it will be more openings and all those. These are very, very minute openings. Only thing is, you should not be going into the cornea and making it. It should be parallel to the iris and the stab entry, and the smallest possible. Try to see what is the smallest possible for the hooks which you have. So don't buy the thick blue ones which some companies, I don't have anything against companies, but there are very thick ones need very large openings. So here again you see fibrosis. This is the point which we have to identify. Identify where the fibrotic margin is there and make a small nick. Don't cut the sphincter, but if you make a small nick there, it will be easy to drag it along, and don't pull it drastically towards you, because it can cause a root iridiolysis from the iris root. So, not radially, tangentially pull and try to tease out this. Once these membranes are gone, the pupil becomes much loose and it becomes much free. Then it is more amenable to stretch or even hooking and all those things. Otherwise, it will tear more and it will look very bad post-operatively. So the more number of hooks you put, the lesser it will tear. And so 4 if you put and 1 if you put subincisional, as was being told during last course. Subincisional takes care of the iris prolapse and the iris damage and all those things. And the lesser number, more number, the lesser tears which you get on the pupillary margin, and you don't have to pull it towards the equator or the angle. It needs to be a 5.5, that's all. 5.5, 5 millimeter rex is more than enough. So don't pull back. See, some cases you see like this. It will look all fine. But then there are membranes which are covering this kind of mature cataract. So if you identify the gap area at the pupillary margin and then retract these membranes, then only you can approach the nucleus or the capsule. Otherwise you cannot approach. So try to identify, see I am trying to get a separation and now you can separate. Then use forceps and separate and then continue with the surgery, because here you can stain after putting the hooks. Don't put HPMC and then try to stain. If you want to stain after putting visco, put sodium hyaluronate and put little bit of saline on top of the capsule and then put drop by drop blue and then paint. Move the cannula over the capsule so that it can paint. Or release off take out all the visco which you put with the Simco or IA or whatever, and then put air and put your blue. So this is the uvatic one, classical one, which ideally has to be separated. You identify, sometimes the attachment will not be there just on the pupillary margin. It will be there broad based, iris will be fully stuck. So push visco all along so that it goes underneath the iris and releases the whole thing. And then give it a small stretch, because these are very rigid ones. So I have stopped using malupentry, very costly. That is it. So make in India. I have no financial interest in this. So I use nowadays only this. I have become a big fan of it. Very easy to introduce this, and it looks very small, but it is not small. 5.5 is more than enough to do an adequate rexus and do any phaco. For any hard cataract I am using this one only. And you need to use forceps, not this kind of forceps initially at least. The forceps which is being supplied by the manufacturer is also there. Or you can use this encrypting one which is blunt tipped, not the sharp tipped, and that can damage the capsule. So 2 paracentesis on either sides, and sometimes the third one, last one, you can hold with the forceps and go underneath with the Google lens and pull back the iris and tuck it onto this one. Rather than pushing the ring far away, you can just go pull the iris back and then put it onto this one. So now see, this is a rigid one, that's why it is not expanded so very well, but still this is more than enough to do a clean phaco. See, 5.5, sure that it will not constrict is more than enough. 5.5 you start with and think it will constrict at any point of time. That is the one which is more dicey and difficult to do. This will stay on till there. Only thing in IFIS, I think there is a talk on IFIS. IFIS will have a problem with this, that they will talk to you. But then here, it holds on very well. And after taking it out, it generally does not damage sphincter as much as iris hooks if you stretch too much. But this also breaks the sphincter, and there will be some irregularity. One can be taken out, and the rest will follow. It can come through the paracentesis and easily it comes out. So not very bad, and it doesn't tear that bad. That is just because it is not stretched too much like your iris hooks. So just the last one on SICS. With hooks you can do SICS also. Visibility is the key. So to do a good rexus in a large rexus in a mature cataract, please do open up the iris, stain and do a good rexus. But good means big rexus, adequate for the nucleus. This one does not have a very large nucleus, but still you need at least a 6.5 swim for this kind of a mature cataract. So once you do this, there are different ways. Release only one sub-incisional or release all 3, just retain one. After one pole is out, and because there will be crowding of the iris if you have all the hooks on. And after that you can prolapse it out and then take it out and then put the hooks back on and then aspirate the cortex from the back. Now this is being dialed out and you take out the hooks back in and finish. Thank you very much.
Find that little gap, and that's where you start off. I think that was a very wonderful point, sir. Any questions in the audience?
Yeah, just one question. Dr. Minu, supposing you are staining the capsule, pupil is small, you have stained the capsule and then you use the iris hook. Have you felt the need to go back and stain again, because the peripheral part of the anterior capsule is not stained, only the center is stained?
The point is, we don't want stain in the center. Point is, why should we stain one for the central 4 millimeters? You need not.
No,
because you are going to do a 5 millimeter.
Initially you have not thought of doing the thing.
Any small pupil, I do not stain without stretching. Sometimes you inject underneath, it goes through the zonules, it goes through the PC.
behind the PC. So there is no point in, I do not personally stain without stretching the pupil, and we need a stain at the mid periphery at around 5.5 area. So stain in the periphery and so put air or